brings us to myth number 5. So interventions can't occur in the gen ed classroom. No. And I think we were kind of talking about this before, and I think this could be a tough one for some parents because many of our kids, they need a lot of interventions, and push-in does carry some perceived limitations. So I'd love for you to give us some examples of various interventions or therapies and how they can work in the gen ed classroom.
Yeah, so definitely, like in elementary school, we are doing interventions often in gen ed classrooms anyway, or we have specific intervention times. Most schools do. It might be like no new teaching time, or we do interventions. Whatever it is, most schools have some format where they have intervention embedded. And so interventions can happen in gen ed classrooms. When kids get older, like if you're going to do a reading intervention, that might be more tricky, and we might need to be figuring out more creative solutions. Like what period could we be doing that intervention to allow for the student to get intervention, but also be exposed to the rich text that they're discussing in English. In terms of services, and if you're talking about speech, OT, PT, all of those services, majority of those services can be push-in. And it really frustrates me, to be honest, how much of those services are pull out. And I know oftentimes as parents, we feel like it is best for our child if they get pull out services that's one-on-one. It feels special. It feels like it's the best possibility. But I can tell you, when you push it in and students can get access to what they need in the natural setting, like if the OT pushes in when they're doing some type of, they're making something in class and needing to use scissors, the OT comes in to help with cutting during a natural time where the kids are cutting, rather than pulling them out maybe during math, then they're missing math instruction to go to the OT's room to cut with scissors. It just doesn't make sense to me. And it's also really disruptive to the student's schedule oftentimes. And when we're talking about students who oftentimes, not often, but some students who need help with transitions, and that can be an area that's challenging for behavior, then we are creating all of these needs for new transitions. That's also really tricky. For speech can be push-in if it's articulation. If you have goals, then yeah, pull out's great. Pull out is great, especially if we can do it at a time that makes sense and the student's not missing anything. But if it's like pragmatic social skills goals with the speech therapist, let her meet the child at recess. If she can push in during recess or doing small group work and support with the exchanges in those natural settings, I mean, that's great. That is so much better than these isolated therapy rooms where then this child has to go generalize the skill out in the world anyway.
I also think a big reason that sometimes that happens is, well, at least our experience and a lot of other people I know, with schedule. It's like,
yes.
schedule, no. And the teachers didn't want it in the classrooms because they didn't want it to distract, right? Going back to some of the previous things we talked about. It's like, we have too many students. We just have to pull them when we can. And so another thing to maybe, we started really addressing it in our IEPs. I know a lot of other parents have, of like, I don't want my child pulled out during, if they are going to pull out, if that's, but you didn't want them pulled out during core classes.
Right.
And I know that can be a struggle too, because I mean, a lot of schools, elementary schools especially, they don't want to do a master schedule. That seems like a lot. And that was a huge reason, right? That they wanted to do that too, because the teachers didn't want to have the distraction, and there also wasn't enough organization on the other side.
And that's a real practical issue, right? And a lot of our service providers have huge caseloads. And so, yeah, it sometimes it's not feasible given the certain constraints in a district, but the more we ask, the more likely things will change down the line.